Hello and welcome to the SC Playbook NFL podcast, brought to you by our proud partners, Sasha Legal. I'm Jakob Funk, and joined as I am each and every week, it's Clutzy and Eden. How we go this week, boys? Week one of the NFL action is in the books. How we go first week Supercoach?
Mate, pretty pumped. I scored 500 flat. I think I had Eden in the head-to-head and I pipped him. Pretty happy. Couple of disappointing performances, which we'll probably speak about later. Jamar Chase, the main one there. But, yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, 498. I was leading Clutzy by 2, and then it updated, and I was on 498, 2 behind Klutz, which hurt my feelings a little bit. But just happy to have the NFL back, like that Ravens Bills game. Geez, that's why you watch it, don't you? That was one of the
100%, dude. That was like absolute insanity, and yeah, look, I'm happy that I had the 2 quarterbacks playing in that. But looking at my team, as I said, Jamar Chase is pretty average for me. I had Tet McMillan playing, who got 18, which I'm actually fairly happy with. But probably the most disappointing outside of them would be Jamar Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown with 19 and 13 respectively, falling well below their break-evens. And look, Detroit just didn't look good against Green Bay. They look pretty average.
No, they didn't. So for me this week, 488, so a little bit worse off than you blokes. Yeah, I was stung by Jamar Chase, and overall as well, a lot of the wide receivers just sort of not rocking up, which isn't great in week one, especially when you've splashed all your cash on receivers. Just quickly before we go any further as well, of course, this is the NFL SC Playbook show. We've done NRL, cricket, EPL, and now NFL. So you'll be seeing this podcast each and every week here on this feed. It's a standalone feed on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching. So make sure that you're subscribed on those channels. You also get weekly articles from our team of contributors over at scplaybook.com.au, and over on socials as well. Make sure you're giving us a like or a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We're at SC Playbook NFL. Also, the Supercoach Playbook Unlimited League. The code is 819860. Not too late to join that one, so make sure that you are joining that one. If you take us all on and win, if you're a subscriber, you get $1,000 in cash. If you're not a subscriber, it's still $500 and then $500 to the top-ranked subscriber. So it's probably a good idea to be a subscriber. Also, you get access to premium content, including extra articles, the WhatsApp community, of course, that league prize money, and all that and more for less than $2 a week. So you can sign up via the menu on the website. So, yeah, going into a few of the players that disappointed for us this week, we sort of mentioned quickly, but Chase is obviously the big one. Who else for you guys disappointed?
I was pretty disappointed with Golden for the Packers, the rookie wide receiver. You only scored 5, which, the only way is up. It's only week 1, but very worrying. But it's hard to be that tough on a rookie. Tyreek Hill, who I was quite chirpy about.
Tyreek over the hill.
Tua looked very average. Tyreek Hill looked very annoyed on the bench. So I'm a little bit concerned there, and we'll talk about it later, but there might even be a couple of wide receivers who are ready to be picked up in my team, and Tyreek might be making his way to left, right, out.
Yeah, definitely. I think the most disappointing, and probably like besides Jamar Chase and Gibbs and St. Brown that I mentioned before, they didn't score for me, thank God, but it was the Baltimore Ravens with -6. Now, might seem a bit harsh because they played against Buffalo, but Hamilton went off injured. They're already quite thin. I did say last week that if their secondary stays healthy, they could be one of the better pickups. They do have Cleveland this week, but I'm sort of tossing and turning whether I keep them in there because -6 points is just ridiculous in the first week. There wasn't really that much pressure on old Josh towards the end there. So, yeah, but otherwise, I think congratulations to us for having Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I ended up captaining Jackson, which with 4 minutes to go, they were on 58 points each. And then Allen ended up finishing on 77, which was absolute insanity. Someone else who did well for me, I remember I woke up at about 2:30. I had the pleasure of being able to watch the games, fell asleep again around probably 5 o'clock, but Bijan Robinson with a 50-yard touchdown to start was just awesome. That bloke's on his way.
Yeah.
I think as well,
Josh,
fellas, though.
if you don't mind, This poor bloke doesn't have Bijan.
Oh, don't you?
No.
That's right.
I just wanted to bring that one up.
Yeah, it was one of the ones where I wake up, look at that, I'm just like, yeah, look, I'm stupid. Like, just immediate regret. I look at that and then see that, like, Chase is, like, a handful of points. I'm like, geez, this is just not going good for me. But, you know, that's the love of the game, right?
That's the life, man.
You win some, you lose some, right?
That's it. Other fellas I was pretty happy with, and I think we're all on the train, is Egbuka.
Yeah.
Which I think if you're not getting on the Egbuka train now, you're going to be quite far behind. I mentioned last week that Chris Godwin was out, and Egbuka's playing that Godwin role. Mayfield and the Tampa offense just looked awesome. So I'm pretty high on him. Bucky Irving did fairly well as well. Getting a touchdown there boosted his score a little bit. But look, Brocky Bowers as well scored pretty well. He does have a bit of a knee injury to look out for.
Apparently, I just read they just did an update and he said he's fine. So it just copped a knock. So that's really good news.
It's all the media beat up, mate.
What about you fellas, though? Is there anyone that you've got on your team? Because I've got another name here that I'm actually a little bit worried about that I haven't mentioned. But I'll get into that after you fellas.
Before we talk about the ones we're worried about, I just want to do a quick little shout out to kickers. After our chat last week, I went back and I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll put a little bit more thought in my kicker. Picked up Cam Little from the Jaguars, and he's given me 30 points.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I was so shocked, and then you had Loop from the Ravens scoring 26, and that ended up being two of my highest scorers. So
absolutely, like it was a super up and down week for kickers as well because we had those guys go off, but then we also saw some other guys just like absolutely, crap it for their teams. Like that Browns kicker missing that crucial one and a few other ones that we saw as well, like some missed extra points and all that sort of thing from some guys. So it was a week where you thought, geez, if you pick the right guys, it did you a lot of good. And if you didn't, well, you're probably looking at someone like Loop this week. Someone else, just quickly, I think that we've got a shout out for doing nothing is AJ Brown, who scored a whole 2 points this week. So pretty easy to forget about that one, kicking off your season, but 2 points, good effort, AJ.
Did he have 2 targets?
He had one.
Mate, he had 2 more points than me. Someone else. We mentioned Chase as well. I just want to rattle off a few guys that scored more points than him. I want you guys to tell me if you know who these guys play for. So we've got Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson is a running back for the Bills?
No, he's not. He's a wide receiver for the Jets.
Wow. Oh, my God.
The renowned Xavier Hutchinson. These are all receivers, by the way.
Not sure what Hutch is these days.
Packers.
No, Texans. And last but not least, rookie Xavier Smith.
Oh, no idea.
Jags.
No, LA Rams. So a bit of a rough week for Chase. If you're an owner like most of us, I think, are we all owners of Chase? Yeah. So if you're an owner, you're probably worrying a bit. But with that in mind, I reckon, we did preach patience in the first episode. I think with that in mind, we'll get to our most traded.
Just going to say, there is one fellow I actually am a little bit concerned about after watching the Giants-Commanders game. It's not Scary Terry. I think we hold on him. He's coming back. He didn't have camp. We spoke about that last week. But it's Malik Neighbours for me. Now, he did score 19 points, but I don't know if you saw the highlights of that game. Russell Wilson was constantly chasing his tail. He's an aging quarterback. He could still move around a bit, but if he takes a few hits and that offensive line is one of the worst offensive lines I've seen in recent memory. So, at one point, I think he was 5 or 7 out of 15 for 58 yards at halftime. Daniel Jones, who was the Giants quarterback for the last couple of years, he's copped a lot of flack about being a bad player. He's gone to the Colts and has a better offensive line, and he scored 150 yards, 2 touchdowns at halftime, looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm worried about Neighbours a little bit. I'm going to keep him, obviously, because he's not losing cash this week or anything. 19 points is still good, but I think when we get into it, there are going to be some receivers with a bit more upside. That could be a panic from me initially, but I think with Russ there until maybe Jackson Dart gets in, they're just not looking good. But, that's probably the last of it from me for who I'm worried about.
The other one who scored 19, who I'm worried about because looks like he's in a bit of troubles, Drake London. I'd had him as a top 10 receiver this season, and tell you what, even if he only misses a couple of weeks, carrying a shoulder injury as a receiver is not good. So
no, certainly not. Certainly not. Shout out to shoulder injuries and the Swifties. Travis Kelce taking out Xavier Worthy, which I'm assuming he'll be one of the most traded out people this week. But look, That is quite concerning with London. He didn't have Mooney there as well. Mooney usually takes away a lot of targets. They were on pace for the same amount of targets and receiving yards last year until December. So hopefully if he comes back, maybe he won't get as much attention and maybe that shoulder might chill out a little bit. But yeah, funky. I think we're into the trades, are we?
Yeah, I think so. So we'll get into our most traded out players first as well, mate. Just stay on the negativity, which seems to be the theme of the night so far, which it regularly is after week one if your team's gone poorly. The number one traded out player, and this is a guy that we spoke about a bit last week, a guy that I've got is Cam Ward. So far, 8.1% of trades is trading out Cam Ward, only 4.7 million, and we did flag last week to be patient with these rookies because sometimes they take a bit of time. But I think I might jump on the bandwagon and trade him out once we discuss some of the traded in players. We'll get to that a little bit later. We'll see why, but I think given the other options, I think that trading out Cam Ward is a pretty fair option this week. What do we think?
This grinds my gears. We said last week that he's going to struggle against the Denver Broncos, who have one of the best defenses.
Yes,
he did struggle. He got he got sacked. He didn't throw a touchdown. We all knew he was going to score poorly. And in my book, if you took him, you got to just hang on that little bit longer, right? You've made your bed, lie in it for a few weeks. 3 weeks' time when we get a price rise and, maybe a downgrade. But, I don't know. I feel like if you picked him to start off, you couldn't have expected him to do well in week one. So I feel like you need to at least keep him another week. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I was going to say the whole time I was looking at the stats coming up in that game, I just kept thinking about what you were saying last week, Eden, going up against arguably the best defensive football. The only reason why that game was so tight was Tennessee actually has a sneaky good defense. So, if you're going up against a team that's playing better offensively, I think Cam Ward's getting an even worse stat line, maybe even pushing that pass, getting interceptions. So I do agree, though, you're either going to have to make your bed or there's probably a bloke who's traded in that we'll have to go for. But I can definitely see why, and I'm so glad I didn't get on the Cam Ward train.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not so much a reflection on Cam Ward doing poorly. I mean, it is a bit. Let's be real. If he scored 30 points, I wouldn't be trading him out. But as much as that, it's a reflection on some of the other options that are now suddenly available and look like very good options at quarterback. Moving on, number 2. Geez, talking about panic trading, Jamar Chase is the second most traded out player, 7.2%. As we mentioned just before, just 7 points for him on the weekend in week one. The Bengals traditionally do poorly in week one. Are you guys going to be panicking and trading out Jamar Chase?
Hell no. When I saw him with the 7 points, I just thought back to last year when New England beat Cincinnati in the first week and I took Jamar Chase and was like, oh no, I've maybe made a really bad decision. He's now going number 1 in draft leagues, and that's because he is the best wide receiver in one of the best offenses with one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Look, that 7.2% of people trading him out already, you're crazy. I think to liken it to rugby league, if you're not familiar, I think it'd be like trading out a Nathan Cleary.
Yep.
He is the sort of bloke you pick and stick.
Agree.
He is one of the top wide receivers. He'll come good. Don't trade your guns after one bad week. It's the ultimate nuffy trade. Don't do it. You'll regret it later on. And say you trade him out, he scores 350s in a row, you want to trade him back in, you've wasted 2 trades. So just don't do it.
Yeah, I think you sort of work your whole season to try and get guys like Jamar Chase in your team. It's a bit of a different situation if we're talking about something happening to Burrow or something like that, or there's actually something wrong with their offense. But at the end of the day, sure, he only got 5 targets and he only got 2 catches for 26 yards. It's not a great stat line. But by his standards, you would absolutely expect him to be back and firing next week, or certainly in the weeks to come. I think we can all agree. Third most traded out player, probably a bit more of a no-brainer this one, George Kittle. So of course, the tight end for the 49ers. He was injured. We mentioned it, I think, just before. And he is the third most traded out player. 4.7% of trades are him this week. Are either of us owners of George Kittle?
No, I didn't get him. I was looking at him, but I went in other directions, and obviously quite glad I don't have him at the moment. I think he is a great player, just unfortunate. I think it's a hamstring injury he's got at the moment.
Yep.
There might be some options around San Fran that we can discuss later about bringing in. But, I'm not surprised at all with the injury.
And he's not – he's a good player, but he's not in that top tight end echelon that we spoke about last week. So you can afford to trade him if he gets injured. And I think you definitely should be, especially if a hamstring.
Yeah, if you're a Kittle owner, I think it's a pretty, it's a no-brainer to go to someone like a Bowers or a McBride. Like, if you don't have one of those guys, you'd imagine if you have Kittle, you probably don't have one of those other two guys. So, if you are one of those unlucky owners that had George Kittle, he's out, the latest report, 3 to 5 weeks, could go on injured reserve, so then he'd miss at least 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. Not good. I mean, he looked good before he got injured, but obvious straight out. You can't have that much cash sitting on your bench for that long. I think we can all agree.
I was just going to say, if you want to free up some cash and you don't have Tyler Warren, like, he looked awesome. So you could even go Kittle to Warren and then use that cash somewhere else. So you've got options.
Absolutely. Number 4 most traded out player this week, Nico Collins from Houston. Another one of these pre-panic trades. What do we think about Nico Collins week 1? Only 8 points.
Look, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure he's coming back from like an injury still. Like, he's still in that sort of recovery stage. It's the first week. He's considered one of the guns. Like, it's just a stupid panic trade, in my opinion. When you're investing that much money into people and when they're not actually losing money for a couple of weeks, to me, it seems like a no-brainer to keep him in that team for at least another week. Like, there are possibly better options out there. I'm personally not on the Nico train.
I'm not either.
Because I'm not the biggest believer in CJ Stroud as a fantasy option. I think he's a decent quarterback, but he just wins games and they got a good defense that'll keep him in the right positions. So I think the upside on Nico is quite... there is obviously some good upside there, but I just think there's better options. However, if you are a believer in him, I wouldn't be panic trading. We've got limited trades this year. I think it's an absolute waste if you trade him out now.
He's got break even of 50. I mean, still won't lose any cash this week, but I mean, pretty high break even. You'd imagine a guy, he's a talented guy, unquestionable, like, number 1 receiver on that team. A quarterback who, as far as we can tell so far in his career, like, maybe up and down last year, but for the most part, he's got Stroud, who's actually, like, he's competent. It's not like, he's in one of these situations where he's on the Browns or something like that. I think that, look, if you're trading at Nico Collins this week, it's probably a luxury trade. And for me personally, I think, I don't have him anyway, but even if I did, I think I'd look elsewhere.
They looked rusty. I watched some of that game. They looked rusty, but it's week 1. Just keep him, be patient, don't be wasting trades this early.
He also tied the team for most targets. It might only be 5, but he's obviously going to get like a massive target share, so it's something not to be too worried about.
Moving on, someone who you should probably be a little bit more worried about, number 5, Xavier Worthy. Any of us Worthy owners? Because it's brutal if you are.
No, I didn't get on the Worthy train because my thinking was he'd be the guy for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, then Rashee Rice would come back in. You've then got so many mouths to feed. So I'm sort of thinking I want to try and make as much cash as possible and limit my trades until I absolutely have to trade, which, look, might not work out, but I never really saw him. And also, he's not proven as a receiver. Like, he's incredibly quick and he can get down the field, and he had a great postseason and end of the season last year, but I'm still not... He still hasn't proven himself to me, which is, like, whatever. I'm a bloke sitting on a bar stool in a pub. But I never was a big believer. Also, if you're doing your shoulder getting taken out by, like, your mid-30s tight end in one of the first plays of the game, you're probably not made of the right stuff for my team.
I was just going to say, if you do own him and you are going to trade him, maybe wait even another 24 to 48 hours just until there's a bit more information about his injury. The Chiefs are being very hush-hush. Like, I heard Andy Reid go, if he doesn't suit up this weekend, like... And who knows? He could be out for bloody 8 weeks. But I would just wait a little bit more because the NFL are actually really good with their injury statuses and letting the fans get information around it. So just hang tight and, maybe make a decision in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, I think personally as well, the other thing is that he's considered week to week is what they're saying. Like, if you're trading him out and he only misses 2 weeks, what really changes for you in those, like in that week or two. Like unless you're desperate for someone to come in, this might be someone that even though he might miss a little bit of time, that you do potentially consider holding.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least, if you are a worthy owner. Moving on, number 6, most traded out play this week. Matthew Golden, wide receiver from the Packers, scored poorly this week, just a handful of points. I think only 5 points for him. I think. Are we all owners of Matthew
definitely.
Golden?
I was an owner, but I didn't have him starting because there are a few mouths to feed, which is a term you'll be hearing a lot from me. But like, there's so many receivers already there at Green Bay, and for me, it's just like, he's a rookie. He's still finding his feet. As I did say last week on the podcast, that all reports were that he is the guy. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's not the guy because he had a bad week. And I think it goes back to what Eden, you said about Cam Ward as well. You've made your bed, so lay in it. Just keep laying in it. You can't just get out and toss him away. You need to stay there with him. So I'm happy to keep Golden. He's not a scoring player for me. He's going to make cash. Like, he didn't make his break even of 6 or 7, which is pretty crap. But
the only way's up, brother. The only way's up.
Exactly. The only way is up. And look, Green Bay is going to be red hot all year. They looked way too good. So I'm happy to keep him.
Yeah, the only thing that I'll say is that no, it can always be worse. He could score 0 like Worthy did next week. We hope not. He was limited at practice.
Yeah.
Today or on Monday, judging by what time you're listening to this. But I still think that he's one of these guys, as we sort of mentioned, for a lot of us, he's going to be sitting on your bench. He's also not going to be hemorrhaging cash for you because he's only $4.35 million.
Yeah.
Surely, I think we spoke about it last week as well. These receivers, sometimes they take a little bit to get going. They can be slow burns for you. I think that this could be a classic example of just wait it out. Don't panic and trade, a guy that's bottom dollar early. Yeah. If you're someone that doesn't have Ibuka, who we'll get to shortly. Yeah. If you're someone that doesn't have Ibuka, and Golden is your best option to trade out, maybe then that's a different story. But for the most part, if I'm an owner of Golden, which I am, I'm probably sticking solid with him.
Yep.
And just waiting it out because you just with these rookies, you just don't know. And also, like, they've got a competent offense too. The Packers looked really good, as well. Obviously, taking down the Lions. So I think the worst thing that could happen is that, no worries, he gets a few targets a week, but there's always that potential where, if someone goes down, if something happens, he's all of a sudden thrust into a much bigger role, and then all of a sudden everyone's trading Golden in because he's a great option.
The Packers offense as well was always in a good position. Just looking at the stats here, Jordan Love only had 22 pass attempts.
Yeah.
So, and they ran the ball, 26 times, 25 times. Like, they didn't do that many plays. You compare that to the Lions. Jared Goff had 39 pass attempts and they had 22 rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Like, they're just, the pure volume there was lacking, I suppose, for Green Bay. So they're not going to be in those situations all the time, and they played from in front all the time, and they've got a world-class running back in Josh Jakob, so they don't need to be passing that ball all the time. So I think trading out Golden is a bit premature for my liking.
And he outscored AJ Brown. So
yeah, exactly.
It could always be worse. Another guy that played in this game that is the next most traded out player, which I think, to be honest, is a bit ludicrous as well. It seems like that seems to be a bit of a theme with all these panic trades, but 2.9% of players are trading out Jahmyr Gibbs.
Got a crazy stat from this one that I heard today off SportsCenter. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs had the least amount of yards in NFL history for someone who had a 10-catch game. And it was 30 or 31 yards.
31 yards.
Which is ridiculous. So, look, I actually am a bit worried about Gibbs. My biggest concern coming into this season for Detroit was, will they succeed without Ben Johnson, who's now the head coach of Chicago, who created this mad offense for them. I believe they may have lost a couple of people on the offensive line as well. So, like the center retired, and I think they lost a guard. But it is the first week. You're not losing money on him yet. No. They do play, I believe, Chicago next. So, like, I'm not too worried.
They're better than Chicago.
They are better than Chicago, which everyone would have seen. But, yeah, look, I think Gibbs is a premier running back, and there's a reason why he was one of the top draft picks in draft leagues this year. So, yeah, not the best output, but I'm probably still going to keep him.
And, look, he scored 19. It's not like he scored 2, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and this is a down game for him. He has his floor is still pretty high.
Yeah.
And his ceiling is very high.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just say it. I'll say it to the bloody cows come home. Be patient. It's week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not trade him.
Absolutely. I think as well, I think the fact that you said that he had the least amount of receiving yards for anyone that's had 10 receptions or if that was a stat. I think the fact that he had 10 targets and 10 receptions, like your running back being targeted 10 times when when it's a point per reception or, similar to half PPR fantasy leagues like Supercoach, you're getting, 1 Supercoach point per reception.
Yeah.
Like they add up, like that's 10 points
10
right
points
there.
there.
Like, I mean, and he's probably not going to get 10 receptions every week. You'd be shocked if he did. Mm-hmm. But I think that the tide will turn with Gibbs. I think that potentially if he's poor again this week and the Lions look like they're genuinely in trouble and not the same team against Chicago, potentially then that's a different story, because I think given his price tag, you're paying 23.19 million for him. So he comes with a pretty hefty cost there.
Yeah.
I think if he sucks again next week and if Detroit sucks against Chicago, potentially you're looking at trading him out for a better option considering the price tag, and maybe you trade him back in later when he's a bit cheaper.
If he flops at that price next week, I'm doing an immediate trade for Derrick Henry, which actually, like, Henry has Cleveland this week, and I think he'll be on the most traded in list, but I will be most likely tossing up between a panic Jamar Gibbs trade for Derrick Henry.
What I will say is I've got the leaders in target share for week 1 out of the whole of the NFL, and Gibbs is ranked in the top 10. He had 38.5% target share for them. Like, if he does that next week, he's going to score more than 19 points.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
I could talk about him all night, but
so some pretty mixed opinions on that one. But we'll get going now for number 8. You just mentioned Derrick Henry. Their defense, the Ravens' defense. We mentioned them earlier.
Yep.
Negative points, absolute disaster. If you started the Baltimore defense, but -6. If you're starting them against the Bills, maybe wasn't the best choice ever. But they do have Cleveland this week. I personally think trading out the Ravens' defense when they've got Cleveland. Is silly.
Yeah,
it is
look,
just silly. 2.2% of trades this week.
I'm one of those blokes who started Baltimore defense just because I had no idea what the Pats would be without Christian Gonzalez. And, look, they obviously didn't score for me. They substituted in. Would have been nice to get another 7 points, but that's okay. To substitute in for good old Jamar Chase, who everyone's panicking on. But, as I said at the start of the show, like, Baltimore's biggest thing this year is if their secondary can stay healthy. Kyle Hamilton went off for a little bit. I believe he's okay. But when they get everything clicking, they're going to be sweet. And they're going to go up against Cleveland, who only put up 16 points, I believe, against one of the worst defenses in the league, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. So I also think Cleveland's going to be playing from a lot further behind because Lamar Jackson is a freak and will have Baltimore out in front. They've also just had a loss to the Bills on Monday night, and it's pretty much a curtain raiser for what will be the AFC Championship towards the end of the season, in my opinion. I think they're coming into Cleveland or wherever they're playing, I think they're going to be angry.
Yeah.
And I think the Cleveland Browns are... they're going to get hurt.
Yeah, I was just going to say they don't play Buffalo every week, who that win was like Buffalo had 0.9% chance of winning that game with 4 minutes to go. So that was a freakish win.
Yep.
The Browns stink. So I think the Ravens will be bouncing back in a big way.
Yep.
Will you be starting Baltimore's defense this week? Like, you're
100%,
enough?
Yeah, well, I'm not starting the Pats, that's for sure.
Yeah. I can't agree more there, to be honest. Like, if you're paying as well $8 million for him, just start doing it. They're up against Cleveland. Like, seriously, you talk about in fantasy a lot of the time that you're trading week for week for your defense for whoever's playing the crappy teams. this is one of those situations, except people are trading out the defense who's about to play the crappy team. So silliness there. Maybe not so silly. All the guys are trading out the next guy, Tyreek Hill.
Oh, I'm so happy about this.
I'm very glad to get to this point of the show. 12
You are a fool, Richards.
Patience. Eden, I give you the floor.
Yeah, look, it wasn't a good watch. I don't even like the Dolphins either. I just really thought Tyreek was underpriced and Tua would be a lot better than he was. But, geez, they were bad. They
stunk.
The whole offense was that bad, like all of them.
Yeah.
Like, McDaniels just looked out of bloody answers on the sideline.
Yeah.
It's not looking good, but because there's no price changes this week, I'm going to keep him for another week.
Oh, God.
Hail Mary. And I'm really, really hopeful he'll bounce back. All we need is one of those cheetah 80-yard touchdowns and we're laughing, all right?
Well, if I can, I've just had a look at who they're playing and I should have known this. They're playing our New England Patriots. If Christian Gonzalez is back, he will play against Tyreek Hill. He will keep Hill to nothing. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I think I saw somewhere that Jalen Waddle might be injured.
Yeah, Jalen
I read
Waddle, he's got an issue. I believe that one's a shoulder, actually, as well.
Yeah, standard.
Yeah.
Mate, like, let's just crystal ball this stuff. Tyreek Hill. Oh, wow, it's just updated my list and Tyreek Hill's gone up to number 8. He's just overtaken the Baltimore Ravens. Mate, like if Jalen Waddle's not playing, who do they mark up against? Because they got no one. Yeah. Like I just think, as I said last week on the pod, Tyreek Hill he's just a bit washed up, in my opinion. Like he hasn't been there. Like he's just an angry dude. I just don't think it's a good,
He
not a good fit.
He did look really, really angry. The one guy that I was looking at, I don't think he's in the top 10 brought in, was Ricky Pearsall for the 49ers. Now that they're basically, he ate last week and now they're pretty banged up. No Kittle. It's going to be him and Sam. It's going to be Pearsall and CMC leading that offense now. Yep. So, and I think he's cheaper than Tyreek, if not around the same price. So he's one that I was looking at, but I almost can't go back after saying you've made your bed.
Yeah, you can't.
So I'm going to have to keep him for another week and just, I don't know, kind of hate watch because I want the Patriots to win, but I also wouldn't mind a few yards from Tyreek. So hopefully we get a shootout from those two terrible offenses.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Pearsall not in the top 10 most traded in players. We'll get to those before long, but I think Pearsall's a guy who's around the same price as you mentioned that I think is a good option for you, and there's also a lot of other good options for you that aren't Tyreek Hill. You can rattle off any number of them, so we'll do that a little bit shortly. So I think if you're in that boat, trading out Tyreek Hill is probably what I'm doing, but if you're choosing to stay on that road, that's your decision. So now, he has moved up to number 8 most traded out now.
We just said we don't trade out guns after 1 week, guys.
He's not a gun.
I don't think
he's not a gun. And he won't be a gun again unless he's traded to some team that's, I don't know, got some sort of cheat codes. But who was our number 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10,
yeah,
how much are you panicking about Tyreek Hill as an owner?
Oh, I'm glad we've still got 24 trades or something. I'm definitely going to have to use one on him probably next week. So, so what's that, a 10? I actually cannot believe how bad the Dolphins looked. They're
a basket case of an organisation, and it makes me happy as a Pats fan to see them suffer. They're going to come 4th in the division this year.
They were fighting on the bench. They were arguing. They were
floundering like fish.
Yeah,
they suck.
Yeah, I think the 30-something, 40-something most highest ranked player last year as well. So, anyway, not the best start for Tyreek if you're an owner there. But moving on to number 10, finally, we've got Isaiah Pacheco.
I think this is a massive overreaction.
Yeah.
I actually Pacheco wasn't too good last year, but I think based on his price, he's around that 8.5 milli, I believe.
Yeah, 8.45 million, 2% of trades right now. I think at that price, I don't know what you guys think.
Cheap as, just keep him.
Cheap as.
I don't really know what you got to lose by keeping him, to be honest.
He's not in a committee. They don't really have any backup running backs who are going to take away that much time from him. They've just lost Worthy. They've literally got Kelsey, Hollywood Brown, and him as the weapons. I think they're going to lean on him a lot. I think he's going to get some explosive plays going. I think it's definitely worth keeping him for at least that one more week just to see how he goes. They are playing against Philly, which is going to be difficult. However, if Jalen Carter spits on someone again, we should be sweet. And he'll dude, Javonte Williams 8 against that Philly defensive front. They were minus Jalen Carter, and they do have a fairly good offensive line, but Chiefs have upgraded, or they've got a good offensive line this year. So I'd be looking at them to like, I think Pacheco's a must hold at the moment.
I think probably a lot of casual fans just would hear the Chiefs and think they're going to come out and dominate every week, but I don't think...
The Chiefs are boring.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, they really are. That's why Mahomes hasn't really been a great fantasy option in the past year or two.
He was good on the weekend, I'll give him that, but I agree. He's not a good fantasy option usually.
So, you got to, at that price, you got to stick with him. But, the Chiefs aren't this unbeatable juggernaut. So he will have up and down weeks.
Yeah, like Mahomes threw 39 passes. Their running backs between Pacheco and Hunt combined for 10 carries, and Brashard Smith, their rookie, had 0 carries. So only 10 carries for their running backs.
Yeah,
like that's not going to happen every week. Honestly, pretty similar stat lines between Pacheco and Hunt, but at $8 million, like he's going to get more opportunities, and particularly when the Chiefs are close to the goal line and stuff, like you just, I think this is a bit of an overreaction as well. And not so much that maybe there isn't other options out there, but I think if you're making this trade when he's only $8.5 million, like who are you getting in that you don't probably have already? Like unless you're someone that didn't have like one of the obvious must-haves to start the year, like someone like Gentile or whatever, and you're trading them out to get them in, that's fair enough. But otherwise, I think that this is one where you probably hold Pacheco. Before we get to the most traded out players as well.
We do have to do a little read for our good friends at Sasha Legal, guys. So we want to give a big shout out to them.
Yes, think of them like your set and forget captain in the courtroom. No DMPs, no dud picks, just straight wins.
Exactly. When it comes to disputes and litigation, Sasha Legal is like locking in a premium QB1 as captain. No wasted trades. They don't loophole arguments. They just rack up points week after week.
And let's be real, in Supercoach, we will all make rookie mistakes at some point. I know I probably made a few this week, but in law, you don't want that. Sasha Legal is the premium pick, the pod that always delivers.
Your case is their grand final. Every move counts, and Sasha Legal plays the full 80 or the full 4 quarters if you're thinking NFL.
So if you need serious legal muscle off the field, lock them in. Sasha Legal, your captain's choice for litigations. They have offices in Sydney and Brisbane, but it doesn't matter where you're based. Reach out and they can look after you. So to do so, flick them a message on Instagram at Sasha_legal. Call them on 073185 2404 or email info@sashalegal.com.au. All right, fellas, let's get to the most traded in players. Number 1 this week, 11.3% of trades from the Ravens, wide receiver Zay Flowers.
Yeah, look, I don't mind that. He looked fantastic on the weekend, and at that price as well, he almost looks like a bit of a steal. I'm unsure what his break even will be this week. It is -9, which is great. He's playing against a pretty average Cleveland team. They do have Garrett there who's going to put pressure on Lamar, but Lamar is the best quarterback at the moment in a fantasy perspective, in Supercoach perspective. So, look, Flowers is his favourite target. Andrews is washed, likely isn't there still. Hopkins, great grab for his first grab as a Raven. Wow. But, I think Zay Flowers is the man there. He did give the Buffalo crowd a bit of a send-off as well when they were up, saying, I'm here this time, because he wasn't in the championship game last year. So, look, he's someone that I'm definitely watching, and 11.3% of traded speaks volumes about how many other people are watching him as well.
Yeah, I think he looked incredible, and that Ravens offense, although they got pipped late, they looked really, really, really good. And he was a centerpiece of that. And after our Tyreek Hill chat, he's actually cheaper than Tyreek. So, he looks like he's in for a big year. And Lamar just, he can do it all. So I'd be considering him.
Yeah, I think if you are someone that owns someone like Tyreek Hill or someone in that mid-range, is probably a pretty good option for you as well, for Baltimore as well. Keep in mind, like Lamar only attempted 19 passes in that game against the Bills, and 9 of those targets were directed towards Zay Flowers. So getting a huge share of the action there. Pulled 7 of those targets in for 143 yards and a touchdown. Also had 2 carries for 8 yards as well, so they're utilising him a bit that way too. I think considering his price and considering that he'll make cash for you going forward. Not only does he look like he could potentially be a holder for the rest of the season based off that performance, not to overreact too much, but based off that performance, he could be a guy that you hold probably deep into the season. If you're trading him in, like I'm probably looking at trading in Zay Flowers this week. But also I just think at that price, he's got to make you a bunch of cash, at least initially, and see if he keeps it up. Baltimore this week, another pretty cruisy matchup for them. I'm not sure who they got after that. So they got, going forward, they got, not Baltimore. They got Cleveland this week, then Detroit, Kansas City, Houston, Rams, and then the bye in week 7. He could be a guy that you're potentially getting in, holding him for those few weeks to make you a bit of cash, and then potentially looking to get him out in week 7 if he, starts to fall off or something like that. But as far as I'm concerned, Zay Flowers, pretty easy trade in this week if you don't have him, which I don't think many people really did. I don't think he had huge ownership this week.
No, he didn't. No.
He touched on his target share, 43%. That put him in the top 5 for the whole of the NFL for week 1. So
that's crazy.
That's a start. And for someone at that price, geez, it makes it really hard not to want to have him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only in 6% of teams in week 1, which I think that's why we're probably seeing him being traded in by so many people, considering that not many people had him in that he does look like a really good option.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the second most traded in player, and this is a guy that I'll probably be looking in to get this week. JJ McCarthy played today, Minnesota Vikings QB.
Yeah.
How are we thinking about this guy halfway through today's game? Obviously, they came back to beat the Bears, but how are we looking at this guy halfway through that game, fellas?
Dude, he wasn't playing well, but I'm also I wasn't too concerned. He's $3.7 million. It's technically his second year. There's always going to be learning curves. He was just a bit rattled, and then he goes in for a halftime chat. They come out, and he absolutely lights up and gets one of the best scores of the week. $3.7 million, as I said. To me, it was a no-brainer pick going into a Super Bowl contending team with one of the best receivers, just one of the best supporting casts. JJ McCarthy should be a no-brainer in anyone's team as their backup to make cash.
Yeah, definition of game of two halves. At halftime, I'm treating him as a rookie. At halftime, I was about to message Josh and be like, geez, I sounded like a genius last week saying don't touch any of these rookie QBs.
Yeah.
And then in that second half, wow. I don't know what was said at halftime, but it was really impressive for someone so inexperienced and so young to come out and play like that in the second half. And especially in that last quarter, he was so clutch. At one stage, they had 130 yards and Chicago had 1 yard.
Yeah.
And that was all on him as well, and the way that he was controlling the game. So he's going to make a stack of cash. And he's definitely one that you will want to have with that first price rise.
Yeah, negative 33 break even as well, which is the best of any player. Currently, as we said, basement price coming up. He's also got Atlanta, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. A bit of a mixed bag there. But I just think for that price, scored 46 points for you last week. You're probably not starting him. If I'm trading him in, I think we're all going the two-gun QB thing, which if you're not doing, quickly by the way, if you're not doing the two-gun QB thing, whether it's Allen and Lamar we all are, or someone else that's of that caliber that's roughly around there, whether it's Hurts or Daniels, this week was the exact reason why you run that two-gun QB strategy, with that one in the flex, because seriously, if you didn't have Allen or Lamar this week, you're just looking around at everyone else, unless you're one of the the 0.1% that had Daniel Jones doing backflips. But unless you're one of those owners of Fields or Daniel Jones or even Justin Herbert, you pretty much had to have Jackson and Lamar this week. And for most people, that will mean that McCarthy's on your bench, but he'll make stacks of cash for you.
Yeah, it's the perfect cheapie. It's the perfect start for a cheapie. He's definitely worth having.
And obviously as well, the most popular trade this week is Cam Ward out, McCarthy in. So that's 2.5% of trade so far. And I think that's just the logical route for most people if you have Cam Ward as your backup to start the year. Third most traded in player this week, and this is a guy that we were high on coming in.
Yeah.
Emeka Ibuka from Tampa Bay. he went bananas.
Yep.
He sat on my bench, and all those points were lost to the ether for me.
You had him on the bench.
I started him.
Mate, I started him because, as I said at the top of the show, I said last week, I've been harping on about it everywhere. Chris Godwin's out. We don't know when he's coming back, and Egbuka is stepping into his role. Yep. And Godwin is priced at $18 million plus. So if someone's priced at that, they're considered one of the best in the league, and they're getting a massive target share. Egbuka produced at Ohio State. He's an awesome rookie. He's got Baker just flinging the damn thing around. So yeah, if you weren't starting him, if you don't have him, you're already behind the 8 ball. So I'm high on him. Glad I had him in there.
I think the performance of the other rookie wide receivers makes his performance even more impressive. Like McMillan, who I was really high on, he had an all right game, like 18. Travis Hunter, 12. Golden, 5. So what Egbuka did is such an outlier. And to do that in week 1 is so impressive, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
He just looked silky.
Yeah.
He just looked the goods. As much as the stats, obviously he did well for you on the stat sheet as well. He scored 42 points in Supercoach.
Yeah.
Hauled in a couple touchdown passes. He just looked good as well, which I think sometimes even though he only had 6 targets, he just looked good. 2 touchdowns, 67 yards. I think even probably don't expect him to score 42 points for you every single week, but he looked good. He's in an offense where there's not too many other options. I think if you don't have him in your team, I think we all did to start the year, but if you don't have him in your team, easy trade in. I think, so my mistake was that I didn't start him because I went Chase, Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CD Lamb, McConkey as my 5-gun receivers.
Right, yeah.
And then because I also had... actually, I can't remember who my other receiver was right now. But I traded them out for Matthew Golden, and I started Ted McMillan. I think I'm going to be going Egbuka next week, in terms of starting him.
Yeah, you simply have to.
I think you simply have to. But that was the only reason why I didn't start him, because I thought Ted was probably the better option. But I think going forward, at the very least for next week, I'm probably starting Egbuka, and then Ted and Golden can sit on my bench and just rack up cash there. Egbuka... Yeah, great option. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to add on him? I think he's pretty clear cut.
That's it.
Yeah, easy as. I think the number 4 trade-in's pretty clear cut as well. If you don't have him, Josh Allen, get him into your team. Not only did he look awesome against Baltimore, next week, the Jets, who just let Rodgers absolutely kill them. Old man Aaron Rodgers, who actually looked all right, but
he looked
it's
great.
still it's Josh Allen against the Jets. Seriously, next week. I think if you don't have him, now is the time. Do not wait. Get Josh Allen in your team. What do you guys reckon?
I think the simplest thing here, as we said last week, if you don't have Allen and Lamar Jackson, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And look, he's already the 4th most traded in person, so that's 5.7% of people with those trades, and 431 people already that are behind the 8 ball. Yep. That's as simple as it is. He's the highest scoring player. That's 77 points that you didn't get, and you probably had Joe Burrow there, who I don't know how many he actually scored, but you're behind the 8 ball already.
He's a set and forget captain as well, really. And so's Lamar, but Allen is that as well.
Between those two guys.
Yeah. And I don't know, if you're caught getting Burrow or you win a Bo Nix or someone like that, just... It's so tempting just to cut your losses and get Allen in. He's going to be good every week. He uses his legs. He is.
He's just a freak. Hey?
I don't know what else we can say. He is so good, and he's so good to watch. And I'm a Patriots fan. We're not meant to like the Bills.
Yeah.
He is very likable, and he's very good.
That's exactly how I feel.
What were you guys thinking watching that game the other day? Because I was at work working away hard as I do in the Channel 9 newsroom, and someone came over and said, "Oh, you watch it?" Because I had an eye on it. And someone sort of said, "Oh my God, I can't," because I'd sort of switched off because I thought, they're behind this. And I still had it on, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. And I was like, yeah, they're done. But then suddenly someone's come over and oh, look at this, they're in with a shot, and they're driving down the field for a chance to win the game. I mean, that drive, it's just next level. Hey, you can never count the Bills out, and you can never count out Josh Allen scoring some garbage points for you.
They just play those games all the time, so I thought there was always going to be an inkling. And as soon as Derek fumbled the ball, I was like, wow, the Bills are going to win this.
Yeah, they came up clutch, and tell you what, the Bills Mafia will be feeling pretty confident that maybe this is their year.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Another guy from that game as well, the number 5 most traded in play this week. One that I'm a bit split on in terms of whether I want to go him this week, but one that I've definitely got. He'll be one of my targets going forward in the season. Derrick Henry, number 5 most traded in player, 5.2% of trades. He was the number 5 or the 5th highest scoring player, for the week as well. Was the highest scoring non-QB by a decent margin. So he scored 56 points. The next highest scoring running back was Bijan Robinson on 42. So that's, it's a fair gap. I mean, what more can we say about Derrick Henry? Like, he just keeps doing it, hey?
Yeah, he's an absolute freak.
He's
that's
31.
Yeah, which is crazy. But you have a look at, like, the training he's done and the way he keeps his body in the nick that it is, and just the style of runner he is. He just breaks through. They've got a good offensive line. You're always thinking twice about whether Lamar's going to take the ball and run. So I think Derrick Henry is the key to that offense. He's just a freak. He's someone that I'm definitely looking towards. Like, I genuinely might do the panic. I think just looking at it before, one of the highest trades, the 3rd highest trade is Derrick Henry and Jamar Gibbs out, and I am thinking about that, but I probably will just chill out for this week.
Yeah, I'm going to wait and see. Like, he's not going to do what he did last weekend every week, but again, like, everyone knows how good he is, and I think that the only reason a few of us probably don't own him is we weren't sure what this year would hold for him. Like, running backs, they get older, you know, they start to fatigue a bit. Most running backs don't have a very long career in the NFL, but he is just an absolute beast. And every time he breaks a tackle, I just think, geez, stuff trying to tackle him. He is so big.
Yeah, dude, he's ridiculous.
But yeah, wow, very promising signs for him in the Ravens. And if he can do that all year, I think most people end up owning him. But I'm gonna be patient and wait and see. But he's definitely one that has to be on everyone's radar.
Yeah, just quickly going over his stats from that game as well. 18 rushing attempts, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like,
freak.
Seriously, like, are we surprised at all? Because it seems like each and every year with this guy, we go, surely he can't do it again. He's old as, and then he just does it anyway. And we sort of pretend like, oh, wow, he actually did it. But are we just all idiots?
Yeah, I think so. He's an absolute freak.
There was also like the argument when he came over to the Ravens, like Lamar and him will be splitting carries, and that hasn't mattered. Lamar just creates his own thing with his legs, but if he doesn't want to run, he just gives bloody Henry and he runs 30 yards. He's a freak. He'll be one that anyone who's serious about Supercoach this year will be looking at.
Yeah, I absolutely. Can't agree more. Absolute freak is Derrick Henry. Another guy from this game as well. We mentioned Josh Allen just before. The 6th most traded in play this week is Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from the Bills. 5% of trades in this week for Keon Coleman. What do we make of him? He was pretty good in that game as well, obviously, with 11 targets, 8 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, look, they've been waiting on this guy for a while. They picked him last year in the first round. He is a great receiver, but look, I think for the price tag, like he's pretty decent. But my issue is, and there is another Bills player on this list, I will not be picking anyone outside of Josh Allen from the Bills simply because he just passes the ball around and he doesn't really have like a set favourite. Yeah. I don't know if Keon Coleman's going to turn into his new Stephon Diggs. I don't really see it happening. But for the moment, I'm staying away from him. I think there's better options around a similar price. If you got like that 2.3 mil, I'd rather go with Zay Flowers over a Keon Coleman. Look, great game by him, but yeah, I just think that Josh likes to spread the love around too much, so I won't be looking at him.
Yeah, I agree. He wasn't really on my radar, and he played very, very well, but I think there's better options, and I think he will have games where he might only end up with 20, 30 yards just because of the way Allen plays.
Yeah.
So I will be letting that one through to the keeper.
Yeah, as well, I think he's a really good option for his price. Like, don't get me wrong, 9.41 million, he's a mid-range guy. I think because he falls into that same category as Zay Flowers, I think that's the only reason why I'm not going to go Keon Coleman this week. He will make cash with though. Like his break even though he won't go up in price this week, his break even's currently -11. If he does anything somewhat decent next week, he's probably going to make a bunch of cash for you in week 3. Like, the other thing to mention as well, like Buffalo going forward, they got the Jets this week. They've also got Miami next week, and then New Orleans, and then New England. And then Atlanta.
Yep.
Like,
Josh Allen's getting captained every week. For me.
Honestly, he is for me as well up until that week 7 bye. But I think for now, I'm a wait and see for Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
But if he looks good again next week, he might be pretty high on my priority list to get into my team, considering they started with 1 million gun receivers and none of them did anything.
Yeah.
And you'll save some cash as well if you go with Keon.
100%. Like if you're one of these guys that's like me and splash the cash at receivers, and then all of a sudden there's all these other options. Like we'll get to a few more in a minute, or one more next on this list. But guys like Flowers and Coleman, easy trade down options, and it probably gives you the cash to go up with some of these other guys as well.
Yep.
Alrighty, moving on. We got number 7 on this list is Quinton Johnston, wide receiver for the Chargers. Is this just an overreaction trade-in?
I think it's an overreaction trade-in, but I was thinking about this today, looking at the Chargers overall. They're still going to be a rush-heavy offense. I think insane that Herbert threw as much as he did. We're not going to see that. They were just in a shootout with the Chiefs and wanted to flex on a division rival. I also think with you've got Johnston, Keenan Allen, and Lab McConkey, and they've also got Will Disley. Like they've got plenty of options there. It's the same thing for me as the Bills. Too many mouths to feed. Herbert's got his favourite back in Keenan Allen. That's actually going to be someone that I'm going to look at going forward, who's not in the most traded as a bit of a pod, purely because they had such a good connection for the years he was in LA. So Quinton Johnson to me is a reactionary trade in, and I will not be looking at him until he proves himself in like 5 weeks' time.
Yeah, he's burnt me before. He can have these games where he scores 2 touchdowns and gets 80 or so yards, and then the next week he'll do absolutely nothing. He's not going to score 2 touchdowns every week. It may look like an incredible score, and he may look like an incredible price. Don't get sucked in.
Yep.
I would not be going near him.
Agree, yeah. Particularly when we've mentioned already Coleman, Flowers, better options. I think we're all in agreement there. We'll move on from Quinton Johnston.
Yep.
Number 8, guy, it's a bit close to my heart. Broncos legend, Javonte Williams, absolutely ripped up in the opening game of the season, up the middle of the Philly defense. But 3.3% of trades for Javonte Williams. Is this an overreaction as well? Do you think this falls into the same category?
You know, I don't think this is an overreaction. Although Philly didn't have Jalen Carter, as we said earlier, I think they've got Dallas have this amazing offensive line. They've been building it like all with really good picks over the last few years. And I think Javonte Williams, people forget in his rookie year was an absolute freak. He had a bad knee injury, and he's sort of on the other side of that now. Yeah, he's just completely cooked. So, look, for that price, what I'm assuming, I'm not sure if it's one of the top most trades, but I could see Javonte Williams coming in for like Isaiah Pacheco potentially as one of those most traded in people. But I will be watching Javonte Williams. I think Dallas might not be as bad as what we all thought after losing Micah, but they looked pretty good, man. And yeah. He's someone I'm going to be watching in the next few weeks.
Again, I still think obviously inflated by the touchdowns. He's not one that I've been looking at, but just one I'll have to monitor, I think, moving forward, because there's always these names that pop up and you might think, oh, yeah, and then 3 weeks later you've missed the boat. So just one to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think as well, I think the other thing that could be different about him as well is like you look at last year, he was pretty average, but he only scored 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he's already halfway through reaching that mark after 1 week. Like he was the 3rd best running back this week. I don't think that you can expect this performance from him every single week. I think we've made that pretty clear. But look, there's worse options. I'm probably not going near him quite yet. I'll probably wait to see if they can prove it a little bit more. But Javonte Williams is certainly at the very least a viable option going forward, and someone that we might look at a bit closer maybe in a few more weeks. Another guy from the Bills, we've been over them a bit, is Dalton Kincaid, the tight end. 2.9% of trades this week for Kincaid. Are you guys going near him?
Oh, man, I've been burnt by him too many times in draft leagues. He had that awesome rookie season. I picked him up last year in a draft league, and I believe he actually played with a bit of an injury last year for the majority of the year. But what I said earlier with Coleman, it's the same thing. There's too many mouths to feed, or Allen doesn't have a preferred option. It's whoever's open and whoever's best, and that's his best option. So I still don't really believe in Dalton that much. For that price as well, I think you can get other guys who are going to have better target shares and be better options like the Brenton Strange that I've already got. So look, for me, and I'm not starting Dalton over Tyler Warren or Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
yeah, that's basically where I'm at with that.
McBride, Bowers, Warren. Like for me, they're the three tight ends for me. I mean, if you don't have Warren, get Warren. 45% target share, top 3 in the NFL last week. He just looks like he's going to get fed all year. I wouldn't be going near Kincaid.
Yeah, I think if you do have Warren, like I think all of us do, do you think that you need another gun tight end to go with? Because I think we've all got Bowers as well, right? So we've all got Bowers and Warren. I've got Loveland as my third tight end, but I'm probably not considering going to another gun because I'm pretty content that I can still continue to start Warren. Like potentially I could trade out Loveland, who looked pretty average, who didn't do too much, and trade him up to Kincaid, and make a bit of cash that way. But I'm pretty happy to play the waiting game there, I think, and I reckon that there's probably just other more pressing trades that I need to make this week, particularly when Kincaid isn't going to start for me anyway. I'm not going to start him over Warren or Bowers. Sure, he's going to make some cash for you.
Yeah.
I think he's just a wait and see, personally.
I think Eden's approach where he's got Trey McBride and Brock Bowers is awesome, and then you've got Warren chilling on your bench making all that cash.
And he might turn into a starter.
One of those two might have an off year. One of them might get injured, something like that. I'm actually quite jealous of Eden's situation at the moment with his tight ends because I feel like they're going to be making some good points for him. I'm going to be sticking with Bowers and Warren and just going with the trend that everyone else is.
Yeah, agree. And the number 10, so last on our list for most traded in players this week, running back from Washington, Jackery Krosky-Merritt. He led their backfield with 10 carries on the weekend. I don't know if any of us are owners. Are you guys?
No, I'm not an owner. I've been a bit wary of him. I think when they traded Brian Robinson, he came up on my radar a little bit more, and that 3.7 is good. I think he could be a good point of difference for the cheapy running backs. I think everyone else has your Amari and Hampton, Trevayon Henderson, and Ashton Genty. So he could be a good point of difference there. But yeah, look, he's someone that's on my radar, but I'm not. I think with Jaden Daniels being the rushing threat that he is, a Washington running back's never really going to be at the top of my list.
Also, who are these people rushing to trade in someone that had 10 carries after week one?
Yeah.
His price isn't changing. He only had 10 carries. It's not like he shot the lights out.
No.
I don't understand why people are rushing to bring him in at all, to be honest. But
yeah, I think you've got to, he does have a negative 15 break even, so he's going to make a stack of cash to you. He's only 3.7 million. He is proper bottom dollar. Other than the God King Immortal Ryan Coe. He's I reckon one of the only guys that's cheaper than him. But yeah, only in 2% of teams. Potentially, wait and see. I think he could be a really good option going forward, though, just because there's next to no competition in that backfield. He's going to get at least something, some sort of value going forward. He'll rise in price. He might be someone that I look at maybe next week if he gets another pretty good share. If just looking back through this list. If you don't have any of these top 10 players, who are your number two? Who are your two biggest trading options if you don't have any of those players that we've just mentioned as the most trading in? For me, number one is Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And number two is Booker. Are we all in agreement on that?
Yeah, they're probably the two people on that list that you need. For me personally, though, out of people on that list that I don't have that I'm pretty toey for, Derek Henry's number one, and then I think maybe Zay Flower. I'm tossing up between Zay Flowers or Javonte Williams as my second there. Yeah. As pointer, I think the biggest thing at the moment is Allen and Igbuka are owned by, Allen's owned by 31.4% of people, and Igbuka's also got a very high ownership percentage in the league.
52.3%.
Yeah, bang. See, so if you want a point of difference, I think Zay Flowers and Derek Henry could be good. Or Derek Henry's also owned by a lot of people. But yeah, for me, I've already got Allen and Igbuka, so I'm happy.
Yeah, but I'm the same as Josh with Flowers and Henry. Flowers has almost made his way into my team before we even finished recording this. So I think he's one that I'm definitely looking at.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. In agreement on those. So that brings us to the end of our show, I believe. Quickly before we end of the show, captaincy options for this week. We have mentioned it briefly, but I think the number one option has to be Josh Allen versus the Jets. So we all in agreement on that?
Yep.
Definitely. I'm massively high on the big fella Josh Allen. I just think, he's just too much of a freak. Like, there's no point in not captaining him at the moment. His run before their bye is legendary. So, yeah, I think if you're not going to captain him, you're a bit of an idiot. But I didn't captain him last week. I did captain Lamar, so I'm not too disappointed with that. But then that's the other thing. They're both playing at 3 a.m., which sucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a look at the primetime games, and we'll probably, in the WhatsApp group, chat more about vice captaincy options.
Yeah.
But look, I'm actually probably, if there's someone in a primetime game on Friday, I will most likely be vice captaining them. But otherwise, captain's going to be Josh Allen.
Yeah, as I said earlier, Josh Allen, set and forget.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of those weeks. Like, there might be some weeks where you're looking at Lamar, but Josh Allen against, the Jets, pretty easy captaincy option for us there. I think that brings us to the end of our show. So just quickly, just recapping, if you're not in the Supercoach the SC Playbook Unlimited League, the code is 819860. So make sure you get into that one to take us all on. If you win that league and you're a subscriber, $1,000. If you're not a subscriber, $500 to the winner plus $500 to the top ranked subscriber. Also, chuck us a like and a follow on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at SC Playbook NFL. We'll be coming to you throughout the season weekly, plus there's articles on the website from a team of contributors. So make sure that you're staying across all that, all the good stuff. We'll be back next week to bring you week 2 action of the NFL, all the latest on what happens there. It should be good to see what happens there after a crazy week 1 in the NFL. So we'll catch you next week for all the latest on the NFL Supercoach action.